called life, and hope you're having yourselves a fantastic morning this morning, as we are so happy to be here with you as always every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets that thing called life. Of course, we are inside the Cafe Kubal Studios, Cafe Kubal on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, and those are all in Syracuse, New York. You also find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse in their drive-through location, and you'll find them on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, in their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building. So make sure you head out to all your Cafe Kubal locations today. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. And of course, if you're out of town, like PJ and Mary, as well as Mr. Joey, aka Meatball Number One, you can go to cafekubal.com. That's Cafe KUBAL.com and order and have it delivered straight to your home or your business. So make sure you do that today. Of course, you're with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, hanging out where sports meets life on youtube.com, facebook.com, and mixlr.com, all /Wake Up Call DT, on facebook.com /LiveNowDT, and on YouTube, and on wakeupcalldt.com. And YouTube, of course, I guess it's so nice I got to say it twice. YouTube.com /Wake Up Call DT. I do want to send this out to you all. If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching on Facebook, or if you're listening on MixLR, or on wakeupcalldt.com, wherever you are, we are at 493 subscribers to YouTube, and I want to hit 500 this week. So with you, we can do it. We only need 7. We got a ton yesterday. So if we have a day like yesterday, we can make it happen. So if you know someone that hasn't subscribed to the Wake Up Call DT channel on YouTube, have them do it today. They won't be disappointed, and we will hit 500 thanks to you. So make sure we do that. We are 7 away as we talk this morning, so excited to hit that number. Of course, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. What's Poppin' is Papa Joe. PJ is here with me in these full list of topics. The PJ Takeover, when we tell you Papa Joe's on the show and you can watch the show in your PJs, and if your boss doesn't like it, tell him we gave you permission. And I don't know who your boss is, and I don't know how much they make, and I don't know what business they run, but I can tell you that Papa Joe and I have authority over them. So, Major League Baseball, make sure that you're here with us to start off the broadcast, as we're going to be talking about Wild Card Weekend. That's right, after today, Thursday, October 6th, for those of you that are watching and listening live, after today, it is 3 straight days of baseball, if needed on Sunday, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all 4 series will be played. 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, 1 and 2 in the AL and 1 and 2 in the NL are going to sit and watch and enjoy the show. So the Astros and the Yankees will be watching in the American League, first and second seed respectively, and the first and second seeds of the National League, the Dodgers and the Braves, will be sitting and watching, and the Braves, the reigning World Series champions from 2021. Then we'll get into the Jacksonville Jaguars at 2-2. God willing, I will be down on site on location to see them host the Texans this weekend, right before Columbus Day, to hopefully get back above 500. And then PJ and I will do our college football Week 5 pick review, see who was right, who was wrong, where's our overall standings at. We'll make our picks for Week 6, which Syracuse is off this week, but we will make our Week 6 picks here, folks. And then we'll go into the NFL and do the same thing, give our Week 4 pick results, and make our Week 5 picks. So with that being said, we bring in the man of the hours, Mr. Papa Joe. PJ, how are we doing today?
Good morning, Daniel. Things are great down here. The weather's starting to change a little bit. By me saying that, we have the windows open and the doors open, and we have breezes everywhere. So this is our time of the year. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah,
and high in the, high mid-70s, upper 70s, and the humidity is gone for the time being, and it's a good time of the year.
Yeah, what I love about this time of the year, and I'm excited to be back down in Florida, is, right around, so we're in October, the most perfect time to venture down to Disney, I've seen, is actually in November, because the weather is just pristine. It's just beautiful, it's nice, it's relaxing, and it's cooler. It's still warm, but it's cool. Like, it's going to be, I've been going down to Disney the last few months, and it's been in the 90s. It's going to be like 80 maybe 84, 81, 85, something like that, which, PJ, I don't know how this happened, but you're from the north, I'm from the north. When I lived in Florida every day, now, going back and forth and it's my second home, but when I was there every day, my body didn't adjust. I can now tell you, at the age of 36, I think my body has finally adjusted after all these years to the Florida weather. Because when I go down and it's 90 degrees outside, I feel it on my arms and I go, I'm going to be all right. And then I don't think about it the rest of the day. So I think I finally have become an honorary Floridian at this year of my life.
Very good. Of course you're an honorary Floridian. You're meatball number 2.
So PJ here with us this morning. PJ, we only have about a billion things to talk about this morning. I'm very, very much looking forward to this weekend. I can't wait. Friday, Saturday, and potentially Sunday if need be in the best of 3 series. First and foremost, we've talked about it a little bit, but love to expand on this and get your thoughts here as we get to see not a one game somebody catches fire and they win, but an actual series for the wild card, a best of 3. So the 162 games matter. How you played up to now matters, because the thing about having a wild card round with one game is that you could be a team that barely got in that's just getting hot at the right time to knock out a team that's been really good most of the season. So what are your thoughts on the 3-game series, and does this help make baseball more fair that it's not one game?
It's a little bit more fair, but you've got to remember that in a short series, if you got good pitching, you're liable to sweep the thing. So you got some good teams here with some good pitching. So this is the start of my season. This is when I really love baseball.
And looking at the fact that the Braves now, we look at this. The NL East last year was a division that it seemed like nobody wanted to win. And it was just not a good division. After Jacob deGrom went down and the Mets had been so hot, everything just kind of fizzled out. And, the expectation of the Mets and what their season could be obviously went down with him going down. But we saw the fact that in that division, with the Mets faltering without deGrom, the Braves weren't doing that well. The Phillies weren't doing that well. The Nationals weren't doing that well. Obviously, the Marlins weren't doing that well because Marlins were at the bottom of it. But that was a division last year that it looked like nobody wanted to win. It was like, who's going to get out of this thing alive? Kind of like the NFC East a few years ago when a bunch of teams had 4 wins in football. This year, the NL East came down to the wire again, but for the totally opposite reason, because the Braves and the Mets are that good. What are your thoughts on the fact that the Mets had to win one of those games in the series, and they didn't? And the Braves, at the end of the season, claimed the division over the team that had carried it most of the year.
Well, Atlanta deserves all the credit. The Mets had a 10-game lead 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Actually, 2 months ago. And they promptly blew it all. Atlanta's the better team. They have better pitching. They have great hitting. Even losing Freddie Freeman, and they're still on top of the deal. They're the real deal, and it probably we're going to see it. L.A. and Atlanta probably battle it out for the National League. But you got to play the game, like the Boomer says. That's why they play the game. So we got to play the game, and we'll see what happens. The first series is the most important, especially for pitching.
And you brought up the pitching and the rotation and the fact that if you're in the wild card, right, and you got to win 2 out of 3 and you have your aces out there and some of the best pitchers in baseball, there's a good chance you're going to win it. But let's look to the positive and the other side of that, right? There's the positive of, okay, if you're the Mets and you can put out deGrom and Scherzer, great. But then you got to play the next series and you got to cycle around your rotation again. So let's go into this kind of weird world of, in the wild card, you may win because of your pitching, but then that could affect the rotation of you in the next round in advancing there because you're going to have to wait for those pitchers potentially.
These managers got things all figured out anyway these days. It's not like the old-time manager. You just walk up to the guy and say, hey, you ready to go? Yeah, I'm all right. It's not uncommon for these managers to use 6 or 7 pitchers in one game. So if it comes down to that, after Scherzer, DeGrom, if Showalter's not real comfortable with it, he'll go with a guy for 2 innings or 3 innings, and then piecemeal it together until he can get through. If he's got good relief pitching, he'll keep going. But you're right about New York. I mean, it starts and ends with Scherzer and DeGrom, so we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and to look at these series, PJ, to look at Wild Card Weekend, I mean, we know that, like I said, leading the American League, we know that those that'll be watching, the Astros, the 1 seed, the Yankees, the 2 seed. So that leaves us with what we have left, and I want to start on the American League side, and then we'll head over to the National League, knowing that the Astros and the Yankees are going to be able to watch and automatically advance here. When you look at the other series that are to be played, and as we said 3 months ago, 2 months ago, 2 days ago, 3 weeks ago, it hasn't changed, right? We know that 3 teams in the American League, 3 teams in the National League East division on both sides has been able to command this season. The AL East sending 3 out of their 5 teams, more than half. Their NL East sending 3 out of 5. So they're accounting of the 12 teams that are in the Major League Baseball postseason, 50% of them have come from one of the East division, or both of the East divisions, I should say, combined. 6 out of 12, 3 from the AL East and 3 from the NL East. So looking at the schedule that we have coming up here for Friday, October 7th, as we start off these series, Tampa Bay is going to be playing at Cleveland, and then we have Philadelphia at St. Louis. Seattle is back in the playoff after a long drought at Toronto, and San Diego, who was 172 games behind the Dodgers, are a wild card team. So, and I know people are sitting here going, Dan, 172 games, they only play 162. It's called being facetious, look it up. But San Diego at the New York Mets. What are your thoughts on this, as we know, like I said, Braves and Dodgers watching, Yankees and Astros watching? Of these series we have starting on Friday, I'll unleash you here to talk about each of these 4 series.
I like that. I do have to rant, though, before we start into that. And
Yeah,
I was really pissed. Really, really pissed. 4 nights ago, I'm watching the Yankees play. And Severino, one of their pitchers, who was hurt for a while. He's back now. He pitches. He's got a no-hitter through 7 innings. 7 innings. And what does Aaron Boone do? Takes him out of the game. Yeah. I'm thinking, Joe's going crazy. I'm saying, what the hell is he doing? Can he get 6 more outs to give the kid a shot? No, they don't do it that way. I'm watching Justin Verlander from Houston the other night. After 6 innings, he's got a no-hitter going. He strikes out 8. Hello? They pull him out of the game.
Yeah.
Dusty Baker's a fine manager, and I know they're saving his head. But look, the fans need to see these kind of things, you know? And plus, these players, they're no dummies. You know, they probably got some riders into their contract saying, if I throw no hitter, I get an extra $100,000. But, you know, maybe they have something like that. But not only did I see it once, I saw it twice.
Yeah.
I was going crazy. I was going nuts. And I'm screaming at the damn television. I'm saying, my God, Aaron Boone, leave the kid in there. The last pitch he threw, Daniel, in the bottom of the 7th inning, was a 99-mile-an-hour fastball in the corner. Now, if he can't go 6 more outs after throwing a 99-mile-an-hour pitch on the corner, he doesn't belong in the game. But, you know, that's the way they do it. And this is not the old way of doing it, like the old Papa J here, what he learned. It's not the same. So anyway, to get to your question, Tampa Bay and Cleveland. I like Tampa Bay mainly because they have the pitching and they play small ball. And they started this deal 4 or 5 years ago where you use 6 pitchers in a 9-inning game. If you like to watch that kind of ball, fine, okay. But Cleveland's got some good hitters. Cleveland's pitching is suspect. Tampa Bay manufactures runs wherever they can, and they're fun to watch. Seattle and Toronto. Seattle really started playing well halfway through the year, and they ended really well. Yeah. And they deserve to be in the chase. Toronto, dangerous team with some 3 fabulous hitters. You know, Guerrero and the Bichette kid. I mean, these kids can really knock the hell out of the ball. And I like Toronto just for that reason, because I think they can outscore Seattle anytime. And every once in a while they'll throw a good pitcher in there. But I think, what is there? I can't remember the man, Manoa. That's it. One of the pitchers for Toronto. It's just really, really stud. But on the other side, you got, you want to say Philly and St. Louis. Well, St. Louis is the team of the ages here. No pun intended, with Wainwright, Pujols, and Molina going out. All three of those guys are going to be Hall of Famers. You got to give the edge to St. Louis here. The Philly's a good team. They certainly earn the right to be in this talk. But St. Louis looks like they're the team. St. Louis is. Don't be surprised if they can go a long way here. They're not shoddy, but by any means stretch of the imagination. They're tough. And you got San Diego and the Mets. Now, by rights, the way we talk, the way we figure things out, and a 3-game series, the Mets should be able to handle San Diego. San Diego hits the ball well. Manny Machado and all his clowns over there, they do really well. And not only that, they got the best reliever in baseball, which is Josh Hader, who used to be with the Brewers. With Scherzer and DeGrom, if they can lock up that series, they'll rest and keep going. So New York Mets is a huge advantage here, and I look for them to keep going. So there's your 4 games.
Yeah, and so I mean to make these picks, and for those that are just tuning in, so for you in these series, you give your picks one more time. Who you have advancing through the wild card?
I got Tampa Bay over Cleveland.
Yep.
I got Toronto over Seattle. St. Louis over Philly. And the Mets over San Diego.
All right. So you got so PJ once again, Rays over the Guardians. I know he's going to yell at me for saying Guardians, but so the Rays over the Guardians, and and then looking at this once again here as I mean the Rays. I want to go to this for a second. I know you talked about it, playing small ball and the different things they do. Baseball has tried to take some strategy out of the game with different rules that have been implemented. Do you think, I mean, obviously you think Tampa can at least win this series, but what do you think of Tampa's way of doing things, and do you still think that they can find their unique way to strategize despite the fact that baseball has tried to change a few things around?
Oh, they're going to change it around next year, which is good. We're not going to see the second baseman and the shortstop out in the left field and right field.
Yeah.
We're not going to see that, thank goodness. But look, Tampa Bay has been doing that since the days of Joe Madden. They win at all costs. They bunt. They sacrifice. They turn double plays, triple plays. They hit homers. They're just a really, really good team. And they got good pitching enough for their starters to get through 5 innings or 4 innings, and then it goes to the bullpen. And Kevin Cash is no dummy. He's been around. He's a former player himself. So he knows what he's doing. He knows what his staff can do. And frankly, Tampa Bay should be an overwhelming favorite here, even though Cleveland is a good team. But Tampa Bay played right with the Yankees, right to the very last couple of weeks before the Yankees just sort of surged ahead. So Tampa Bay looks like they're a huge advantage here.
Yep. So you got Tampa Bay in that one as we go down the line here. And Philly and St. Louis. It's been a long time since the Phillies have been into the playoffs, and they were able to keep the Brewers at bay. The Brewers were a half a game back, 1 game. They ended the season 1 game behind. No matter how close they were, think about that: a half a game, 1 game. That's it. It wasn't 10 games. It wasn't 9 games. It wasn't 7.5 games. They were a half a game to 1 game back, and the Phillies just wouldn't let them. That door was open just a little crack, and the Phillies slammed that door. What can you say about the Phillies and what they did to keep the Brewers and everybody else out? And then the St. Louis Cardinals. Some people think St. Louis can make it to the end. Some people think Philly can catch fire. So, your thoughts?
Well, Philly's a good team. I mean, they belong there. Schwarber hit 45 home runs for them, so he's a monumental piece of the puzzle here. Yeah. And actually, I think he leads off, too, like Judge does for the Yankees. Philly, my Brewers suck. Let me put it that way. They had things wrapped up a month ago, and they just couldn't keep it together. And for some reason, I think I know the reasons, but I'm not going to get into it. They had to get rid of Hader. I mean, Hader to me is frightening when he's up there against a left-hander. So I mean, that's no here or there. He's not there anymore. He's playing for San Diego. So if he saves a couple of games, the Brewers are going to look like poo-poo. The Brewers didn't have it at the end of the season. They got some real good players, especially Yelich, who is a shadow of himself from 3 years ago, and Adames is a really good player, also home run hitter. Ravi Tellez hits a lot of homers and plays a tough first base. Milwaukee couldn't win when they had to do it, and Philadelphia won when they had to do it. So there's the difference. I mean, Philadelphia deserves to be in this conversation, but they're a long way from trying to get people farther.
Yeah, and so, I mean, the Cardinals, and there's that thought that they could get deep into the postseason, having some of these conversations recently, as Papa Joe and myself, DT, here with you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, and always happy to be here inside of the Cafe Cubal studios as we tackle so many different pieces every single Thursday in the PJ Takeover, starting with baseball's wild card, Seattle and Toronto. Toronto is that team, just like Tampa Bay, PJ, that has been in this giant shadow of Aaron Judge and the Yankees. And so people aren't talking about Toronto. But Toronto gets to have this series at home. And people also underestimate the fact Seattle's coming from the West Coast, Toronto's on the East Coast. And so they have to come all the way across the country and then go up north into Canada to play the Toronto Blue Jays, who are going to be hosting them, who are not a bad team, who, like I said, for many months have been in the wild card race, yet they're not being talked about. What are your thoughts on the fact that Toronto not only gets this series, but they get it at home, and how good can the Blue Jays be?
The Blue Jays are good. Let me tell you, really, really good. Manoah, their best pitcher, he got 16 wins this year and a good ERA. They just got some good hitting. I mean, Guerrera and Bichette can take over a game themselves. They're just super young players. Seattle, they didn't really back into this thing. I mean, they played fairly well down the stretch, and they're the recipient of this type of situation with the wild cards. So they took advantage of it. So if they can hang in there with with Toronto, a couple of games, maybe they'll pull it out. But Toronto looks like they're a prohibitive favorite in this series.
Yeah, and then the last one, obviously, you picked the Mets here, and I'll be giving my picks right after PJ gives his synopsis here of each of these and gives his thoughts. I'll be giving my picks as well. But the San Diego Padres, I know that I said, and obviously, like I said, being facetious here, that San Diego was 172 games behind, but they were far and away behind. This shows you just how crazy it is to look at the grand scheme of the wild card this year. The Dodgers won the NL West by 22 games. The closest team to them, the San Diego Padres, is in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs, but 22 games behind. Think about how many sports you can think of where someone in the standings behind the team that won that division gets in the playoffs too, with being over 20 games behind them. The Giants were 30 games behind. The Diamondbacks were 37 games behind. And they weren't as far behind as the Colorado Rockies, who were 43 games behind. To put this into perspective, the Milwaukee Brewers ended the season 7 games behind the Cardinals in the NL Central. The Mets and the Braves were right there with each other at the end of their season here. The Mets and Braves were 101 and 61, but the Braves, obviously, the head-to-head they had, the Phillies were 14 games back when they were in third place of the NL East. So in third place, still 8 games less than the Padres to the Dodgers. In the AL West, the Mariners were 16 games behind the Astros, who won that division. The White Sox were 11 games behind the Cleveland Guardians in the AL Central. And the Blue Jays ended the season 7 games behind the Yankees. The Tampa Bay Rays 13 games behind them. And Baltimore, who almost made the playoffs, 16 games behind. Think about the American League and how good it is. The worst team in the American League at the end of the season was less games behind the Yankees than the second best team in the NL West. So In the American League, the Yankees got the Jays, by 7, the Rays by 13, the Orioles by 16, and the Red Sox by 21. So the worst team in the American League East was closer to the top team in the American League East than the closest team to the Dodgers in the National League West. Shows you how good the Dodgers are. Also shows you that if the American League East was playing in the National League, they would all get into the playoffs, because the San Diego Padres were 22 games behind the Dodgers. However, they were better than everybody else, and that shows you just how good that Dodgers record. 111 wins, 51 losses. PJ, bring me into this, because on paper it seems insane to say a team that ended their season 22 games behind the first place team in their division is a playoff team, yet the Padres will be playing the Mets in New York this weekend.
Well, the Padres are really up against it here, of course, with the New York's two-headed monster and the way they hit the ball. Alonso is actually a lukewarm favorite of mine for the MVP. San Diego doesn't have to worry about playing after this weekend, because they won't. And the series we wanted to see all along will happen with L.A. and New York Mets. So that's what we're looking for. But first they got to play the games, let New York, the Mets win, and then the San Diego, they can score points. I mean, they can score runs. I mean, they got fair pitching, but they got really good hitting. And Manny Machado can carry these guys, too, just like Alonso's been carrying the Mets. So, and I do have some stats to go over here, too, later, for individual stats for MVP and Cy Young Award and things like that. But let's get through these games first four. I think these first four games are pretty well spelled out. I just spelled them out as best I could. And the prohibitive favorites are the ones that I said.
Yeah, that coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. PJ picking the Rays over the Guardians, the Cardinals over the Phillies, the Blue Jays over the Mariners, and the Mets over the Padres. And I'm going to also go with the Rays over the Guardians here. I love, listen, and again, to I don't have to belabor the point here. I just said it to you. In the American League East, the worst team in the division was still closer to the Yankees than anybody was to the Dodgers in the NL West. A very, very heated division. Shows you how good the Yankees are. They got to 99 wins, 63 losses. The way they were starting off the season, everybody said they'd get to, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people, including us, were talking about the fact that they would not only get to 100, might be the first team to 100. Well, they missed 100 by one game. 99 wins, 63 losses, ending the season with a 61.1% winning percentage, speaking on the Yankees. The Tampa Bay Rays, to me, are going to take down the Cleveland Guardians, Cleveland Indians, Cleveland football team, Cleveland baseball team, whatever they want to be called today. But the reality of it all to me is the Tampa Bay Rays, listen, again, like the Blue Jays, are a team that is not spoken about enough, not regarded high enough, because of the fact that the Yankees have done so well. And obviously the Pinstripes historically take a lot of the cake when it comes to talking about baseball. Not divisions, not leagues, but Major League Baseball in general. So I got the Rays over the Guardians. The Phillies and the Cardinals, this is a tough one for me, because one of my closest friends, Danny Tome, the owner of the Wildcat Sports Pub, he is elated. And he doesn't cry often. But his Phillies, the last time they made the playoffs, he had pictures of his kids and how old they were and how tiny they were. So to have this moment be a special moment for him, I want to pick the Phillies. But as an impartial broadcaster, I told you what I want to happen with my heart. I still have to tell you what I think will happen with being a broadcaster, because it's a cardinal sin, in my opinion, to be partial to anybody. And with it being a cardinal sin, I'm going to follow that pun and not make the cardinal sin and pick the Cardinals over the Phillies to win in this matchup. And then I have the Blue Jays. I'm so happy for the Blue Jays. They were my first favorite team as a little kid. And so when I was growing up, the first baseball game I ever saw was at the old Sky Dome, where everybody used to play. And, the Toronto Raptors were there. Everybody was there. And now it's the Rogers Center. I went there to see the Blue Jays play the Diamondbacks. It's the first time I got to see my Diamondbacks live. And the Diamondbacks were awful. And they lost that game. And that was sad. And that was a few years ago. But a big fan growing up with the Blue Jays. Love Joe Carter. I love the logo. I love the Blue Jay bird in general. Reminds me of my grandma. And I have a Blue Jay sitting in my conversation room when you walk in my house because of my grandmother. So and I just got my mom a Blue Jay cookie jar, a giant Blue Jay. So I'm going to go with the Blue Jays over the Mariners here. That's not why I'm picking them, but I think the Blue Jays are going to have enough here. I'm excited to see them. I would love to get that Yankee Blue Jay. I'd love to see that here in the playoffs. And then on the other side of it, I definitely, I'm going to go with the Mets. The Mets are a team that have kind of crept into my heart over the last 2 years. I blame my ex-girlfriend's mom and grandmother. It definitely wasn't her because she really didn't pay attention. But her mom was such a giant DeGrom fan, and being around them as much as I was, I couldn't help but pay attention. And I remember when the Diamondbacks beat the Mets in one of the series, and I told her, I said, I'm going to gloat respectfully because I know that you're going to probably win every other game in the series, and obviously we're not going to have a good season, so let me have this victory or two. So the Mets, to me, too much for the Padres. I got the Mets moving on, so I'm going to equal PJ and say Rays, Cardinals, Blue Jays, and Mets. We got some thoughts coming in here. I want to get to them. So my apologies here as we didn't get to them yet. So let's get into some of these. So can and will the Mets get Marte back in the playoffs? He's a spark plug and difference maker. How about McNeil winning the Major League Baseball batting title? Big congrats to the Squirrel. Cleveland has a great bullpen and arms, but I'm still going with the other one. And then Philly actually has decent frontline starting pitching, and of course a solid lineup. The bullpen holds them back. Seattle has a good young team, sneaky good team, great team baseball. Dodgers certainly had an incredible regular season. Second most regular season wins all time for Greg's Mets. Good, big shout out to him. 101 double W's this year, so big ups to you. And how about that? The Mets were one of the only teams that could beat the Yankees at a certain time this season, and in those couple games that they beat them, look at the difference. They won that 2-game series, and they got to 100 wins, and the Yankees didn't, and that was the difference. If you go back to that 2-game series, the first one they had, Subway Series this season, 101 wins for the Mets, 99 for the Yankees. So something to be said there. The NL teams this season are beasts. 2011 for the Phillies, they were still a lot of Blockbuster video stores open back then. So we got a lot of thoughts coming in here, PJ. You can tackle whatever one you want. The Phillies haven't made the playoffs in over a decade. Can and will the Mets get Marte back? McNeil, the Squirrel, winning the batting title. There's a lot of things to get into here. So whatever you want to jump on, have at it.
Well, with this time of the year, certainly there's individuals that can carry a team or have carried a team. And I think we should talk about some of these. Start with the American League. Aaron Judge did not win the Triple Crown, which means he didn't win the batting title because he certainly won the home runs and the RBIs. Arias from Minnesota was the leader at 316, and Judge was at 311. Now I'm gonna say this now, and it could be controversial, but no matter what, Aaron Judge should be in the consideration for most valuable player in the American League, and justifiably so. However, I told you several weeks ago, and right up until last week, if he doesn't win the batting title, I don't think he's going to win the MVP, and he didn't win the batting title. However, with that being said, he's so dominant that he can really change the game just by standing a 6'7" guy up there and batting. I mean, he's just incredible. I like Ramirez for Cleveland. He had 126 RBIs behind Judge. I mean, they looked to him to get some runs. And last night, of course, I had to watch my Angels, the last game of the season. Ohtani pitched 5 innings, gave up 1 hit, struck out 6. He lost the game 1-0, but, extraordinary season by him. And Mike Trout hit a 490-foot home run into the upper deck of Oakland. And I saw that, my jaw dropped. It was unbelievable. Of course, Mr. Trout won't be there, but Judge will be there, and Ramirez will be there. So we can look for these guys to pick up their team. In the National League, Little Squirrel McNeil won the batting title at 326. Freddie Freeman comes in at 325. Both of these guys are going to be in the playoffs, and both of these guys can be a real catalyst for their team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Schwarber hit 45 homers for Philadelphia. Ahead of Alonso's 40. Alonso had 131 RBIs. And my favorite player in the National League, who I still think he's in the run for the most valuable player, is Paul Goldschmidt of St. Louis. Even though he tailed off, I was really touting him to try to get the Triple Crown. He wasn't that strong down the stretch, but he still bet. He batted 317, 35 homers, 115 RBIs, and with him and Arenado 3-4 in the lineup for St. Louis, that's a lot of power. And you got Pujols sitting there too. Paul Goldschmidt, I still think, is going to be the MVP for the National League. Pete Alonso's got an outside shot at it. He didn't hit for average that well. Good enough, but maybe in the 270s. But because he had more home runs and RBIs, and he's probably going to be thought of too. And again, justifiably so. But Paul Goldschmidt all year long was right up there for everything. When you talk about most valuable player in pitching or the Cy Young Award, whatever you want to call it, the most valuable players usually on a team at this particular time of year are the pitchers. And there's no one more dominant right now than Justin Verlander of Houston.
Yeah.
He's 1 million years old. He won 18 games and the ERA of 1.75. Now, put that in perspective a little bit. If a 26-year-old kid is doing this, that's a hell of a deal. But when you're 39 and it's at the end of your career and you're a Cy Young Award winner already, well, he's going to get another one. This is a no-brainer. He's got Framber Valdez backs him up with 17 wins and a low ERA. There's the two guys right there that can carry Houston. Besides, Houston's hitting is awesome. And he can't go talking about pitching and hitting in the American League without talking about Ohtani. I mean, again, look what we saw, people, in this year. I mean, he hit like 37, 38 homers, a million RBIs. He got 15 wins on the mound. I mean, those numbers to me dictate that he's going to get the MVP because of that. Of course, they're not going to the playoffs, but I had to tune them in last night, and I had a lot of people tune them in last night just to watch him pitch. So there's some good news for the Angels, though, fortunately. Phil Nevin is going to be back for manager next year, just on a one-year deal. The Angels, they got great players, but they're not putting it together, so maybe Nevin will be able to handle it. On the national side, you got Kyle Wright had 21 wins for Atlanta. Urias had 17 wins and an ERA of 2.16. Kyle Wright probably is going to get the Cy Young Award for the National League, which I like him. I really like him a lot. Yeah, he's fun to watch too. He's a dogged guy. I mean, he's not an overpowering pitcher. He's just good, but then you got the four-headed monster sitting over there in Los Angeles. So we got Urias, Gonsolin, Kershaw, and Anderson. All four of those guys had multiple wins and ERAs right around 2 and 3. If you're going to win the pennant in the National League, you're going to have to get by Los Angeles. You got Mookie Betts hitting, and they got a hell of a team. Freddie Freeman over there now. So I think that if it turns out to be that way, if it turns out that L.A. and the Mets are going to battle for that second win, these four guys are going to carry it for Los Angeles. It's so good. I mean, he didn't. How many wins did they get? 116, 115, something like that. I mean, it's ridiculous now. But they're that good. So those four players, those four pitchers, are going to carry Los Angeles. So you have some good players here. You have some individual players that have some good stats, and we're going to see some good baseball.
Yeah,
I noticed that Matheny is out at Kansas City manager, so
yeah.
Nevin at least is going to stay on for L.A. I do have some other news just to talk about it.
Sure.
I got rookie of the year for National League and American League. Rookie of the year, I got Julio Ramirez Rodriguez from your boys in Seattle over there. Hit 280, hit 27 RBIs and 25 stolen bases. Exceptional player. Going to be around for many years. In the National League, you got two guys from Atlanta are going to go for it. You got Michael Harris, who was a great job this year, played most of the year, and had good stats. And you got Strider, one of their pitchers. So, when you got two players like this on Atlanta, and you're looking to beat the Mets, these are the kind of players you got to have. So, congratulations to all these guys that got individual stats. But, as I say, the boomer says, that's why they play the game. So they got to go play the game.
Yeah, and speaking of playing the game, I would be wrong. It would be wrong of me. It would be a giant party foul if I didn't say that my Diamondbacks didn't end the season strong. So the Diamondbacks, it's all about, finish strong. And the Diamondbacks won. The end of the MLB regular season was yesterday, October 5th. Diamondbacks beat the Brewers, 4-2 in that game and had 11 hits in the game. No errors, let's go. And they have the best record that they've had in the last 3 seasons, 74-88. I'll take it. After last season's 52-110. And then in the abridged version of the season in 2020 in 60 games instead of 162, they were 25-35. So, looking at that, this is the best record they've had since 2019, where they were 85-77. Keep in mind, they had 3 winning records here from 2017, 18, and 19, hoping for big things to come from my Diamondbacks. I love the fact that I looked up at the television last night and saw that they finished strong. I know they didn't make the playoffs. I know they didn't have an above 500 record, but to win the last game of the season is better than losing, so a positive thing there. I'm just sorry, PJ, that it happened to your Brewers.
That's why my Brewers are sorry this year. Craig Counsell couldn't keep them together. I mean, they certainly had enough hitting. 2 of the best pitchers in the National League with Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff. And for some reason, Craig Counsell wasn't putting the right players on the field. He's got a bunch of players to choose from, but, it just didn't come together. And, I'm really looking at Yelich. I mean, he's one of my favorite players. Of course, I got a bobblehead sitting over here next to Mike Trout. And I'm thinking if I'm Milwaukee, maybe he's got some trade value. I'm looking at them to really move Yelich this year, maybe to get a couple 3 players for him. He's got to do a lot better than what he has done the last couple of years. And you just remember 3 years ago, he was the most valuable player in the National, and he was a killer, an absolute killer. But he's a shell of himself, and I've said that all summer long. And I look for maybe Milwaukee to make a few moves, and I wouldn't be surprised to try to move Yelich.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be an awesome offseason after this MLB postseason. PJ and I have made our picks. They just so happen to be the same. We don't talk about them beforehand, so I didn't know where he was going. He didn't know where I was going. But once again, to recap for you, we have both chosen in the MLB Wild Card Weekend the Rays over the Guardians, the Cardinals over the Phillies, the Blue Jays over the Mariners, and the Mets over the Padres. With that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When PJ and I spin back around here, we will be giving our thoughts on the Aaron Judge historical, beautiful, wonderful 62 bangers in the regular season. The first time it's ever been done in the American League, passing Roger Maris, who had 61 in 1961, 61 years later. You can't write it better than this. There's something to be said about how poetic God seems to be in baseball and in sports in general. And I'm not saying God made Aaron Judge do it. I'm just saying it's very interesting to me how life, especially in sports, seems to be so poetic that you can't even write it better than how it actually happened. So there's something to be said about just how beautiful it is. We'll talk about Aaron Judge, number 62, and what it feels like to be a part of history 61 years later. Right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Thanks for being with us inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios where sports meets that thing called life. Happy to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, here with PJ this morning. And every Thursday we have the opportunity to do this. Unless I'm down with him in the beautiful, great state of Florida, the second home for me and the second home for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. So always love having PJ on the show. Always love being here inside the Cafe Kubal Studios, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse. You also find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse in their drive-through location, and on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, in their double-decker cafe. So make sure you head out to any one of those locations today. Inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Major League Baseball is where we're finishing up. Then we're going to get into the Jaguars at 2 and 2. And, of course, talk about our college football picks of last week, our NFL picks of last week, and who we're picking this week. And we'll give our overall standings as well. So, with that being said, PJ, your thoughts on the man that they refer to as Aaron Mother freaking Judge. What are your thoughts? Number 62 that he hits here. The man is out of his mind, making it happen, getting it done, being awesome. Huge fan of what he's doing for the New York Yankees, what he's doing for baseball, what he's doing for him and his family. I don't know how you can dislike Aaron Judge. The only people that I think dislike Aaron Judge are people that are jealous, and jealousy looks ugly, but this man is a pretty 62, first time ever, American League, the new champion for home runs in regular season. 62 home runs, passing Roger Maris, fellow Yankee, 61 years later that he hit 61 in 1961. So, as I said before the break, all too poetic, all too perfect of a story to tell that pretty much writes itself. What are your thoughts on the fact that Aaron Judge is the new king of the American League, at least in the regular season?
Well, he certainly cuts an imposing figure up there. That was an imposing pitcher. I wouldn't want to face him. He really is extraordinary. I mean, his reach is so strong that he can flick the outside corner of the outside pitch of the plate and flick it in the right field. I mean, he's that strong. Listen, I'm a baseball purist. You know that, and all the listeners know that. Yeah, Papa Jay's going to win, I'm sure. But you know what I want people to understand is that this is extraordinary feat by Aaron Judge. I mean, sure, he's physically imposing, and he's been plying his trade for 5 or 6 years, and now he's at the top of his game, and probably for the next 4 or 5 years. And whoever is going to sign him is going to have to pay a lot of money. I know that. Aaron Judge deserves to be the American League king of the home runs in the season. True. What I want to get into is what I hate is that you talk about Bonds and Sosa and McGuire. If you look at the seasons that they've had, they're better than Judge. But we talk about the steroid era and how they cheated and things like. Of course they cheated. Now Bonds is the biggest idiot in the world. And he's 21 years later. Oh, I didn't do anything wrong. I just worked out. And yeah, sure. One year he's a skinny little guy. Next year he's all buffed out and hitting the ball 9 miles. Aaron Judge deserves to be in a conversation, and he does it right. And what I want to see are players cut from the cloth that I remember from. I look at Albert Pujols. Albert Pujols said, "This is how I want my career to end. This is a magical season for him." And look at the records that he's set. The RBIs, the home runs, and everything. You don't hear anything about him and juicing up or anything like that. And you don't hear anything about Molina or Wainwright, these 3 guys. You know, you can't talk about the home run deals unless you get these elephants out of the room. And those 3 elephants are Bonds, McGuire, and Sosa. To me, those guys don't exist. I don't care, don't want to know about them, don't hear to talk about them, don't want to hear about them, don't nothing. So I'm going to leave that at rest right there. If someone wants to take issue with me at that, that's fine. I don't. And the all-time home run king is Hank Aaron, and the leader in the American League is Aaron Judge, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't disagree with you. I got asked a question last night, and I said, when Hank Aaron and Bud Selig said that they weren't going to go to the games where Barry Bonds could potentially break the record, I appreciated that. I respect them for that. I respect them to this day for that. That, Hank said, I won't be there. And Bud Selig, the former commissioner of baseball, said, I'm not going to be there. And I wouldn't have been there either because it's not real. Barry Bonds was 89 pounds. He was a stick figure and he could run bases. Then he became the Michelin Man and his whole upper body ballooned, but his legs stayed small. And, here we are having this conversation of, well, is he or is he not? He's not. He's not. And neither is Mark McGuire. And I loved, between Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, I loved watching Sosa. And, it's not him either. I can't sit here today and condone cheating. I can't. And, and people, it doesn't really, Dan, you still got to have a good hand-eye coordination, and you still got to have that. Now, if steroids didn't help you become a better player, people wouldn't take them, okay? It's like saying, well, if I didn't have the answers to those 5 questions on the test, there was 20 other questions, I still would have done pretty good. Well, then why did you need the 5 answers? Okay, if you're going to take the test and you're going to get 100, then you better know all 25 answers to the 25 questions. I don't care if you know 20, but you needed help with the other 5 by cheating. If you cheat, that's it. It's over. It's done. Okay, the Astros don't deserve a championship. The Patriots didn't deserve to be called unbeaten until the Giants kicked their tail because they cheated. When you cheat, you get a 0. That's what it is. That's how it happens, and you move on. And in the case of Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, when I went to the Hall of Fame last year, they got their jerseys, they got their bats, they got their hats, they got their balls inside of Cooperstown. And the thing is, if you're not going to put them in, then you can't put their stuff in. Because you're putting their stuff in saying, hey, this is, he hit this home run with this bat. Hey, this is the ball. Hey, this is the jersey he wore when he hit this home run. No, if they didn't do it, without steroids, then none of that stuff belongs in there. And you got to pull it all out. So I go one step further. Barry Bonds is not even on my brain. Anytime somebody says Barry Bonds, my answer is very simple. It's very swift and it's very easy. Just like yours, PJ. Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds. Hey, the Hall of Fame's not going to let you in. I wouldn't either. And this is not me wishing bad on you. You cheated baseball. Okay? You might have given people memories. You might have done something great in the moment. But when people find out how, to me, the end doesn't justify the means. It's like marrying somebody going, hey, I cheated on you 3 years ago when we were dating, but I'm a heck of a wife now. I don't care. You cheated. Get out of my life. So, in the case of these three gentlemen, I don't care. In Aaron Judge's case, I am so proud of Aaron Judge, and I'm so happy for Aaron Judge, and I'm so hopeful for Aaron Judge and what he can do from here. So, I listen, Hank Aaron, Aaron Judge, those are the guys we need to be talking about. Number 62, PJ, you are a cool 70-plus-year-old gentleman out there in this world. So you've been alive for Roger Maris and Aaron Judge. What does it mean to you to be able to have seen both of these things happen?
Oh, it's great. I do have to go back to the Roger Maris deal. I mean, I wasn't a particularly good fan of Roger Maris at the time, mainly because he was being talked to in the same circles as Mickey Mantle, who was my idol. I mean, any kid growing up watching baseball in the era that I did loved Mickey Mantle, period. That's it. No one else mattered but Mickey Mantle. Roger Maris comes along and hits the home run. Frankly, the New York fans didn't give him enough credit. Because Mantle is just such an idol. But I've softened my stance since then, and I realized that Roger Maris belongs in this conversation, and I also like the interviews that his son gave the other night too when Judge hit the home run. First class people. You talk about these guys, and you put them in at the highest pedestal, and they're supposed to behave like that, and they do. Except for Sosa and McGwire and Bonds. Mark McGwire is a nice man. Frankly, he's a nice man. He's not an egotist. He's still in baseball. He's a batting instructor for one of the teams. I can't remember what. But I mean, he's in baseball. He loves baseball, and he's still a pretty big guy. But I don't think he does steroids anymore. That's for sure. And Sammy Sosa, he's dropped out of sight. I don't know whatever happened to him. He's probably back in Dominican and doing something. And Bonds doesn't do nothing but ride his bicycle all around Los Angeles. So, and the fans speak up, and the Hall of Fame speaks up, and they say, listen, we don't like the way you got your records, so ergo, we're not going to vote you in to the Hall of Fame. Now, certainly, Bonds and Clemens have been real close in recent years. I don't think they're ever going to get it in regular time. They may be nominated as one of the oldies or something like that, but you got to keep baseball clean and clear. And you brought up the Astros, who cheated. We know that 4 years ago to win the title. And I liked the Astros as a team. I thought they were really good until I found out they cheated. And then Dusty Baker comes in and he cleans house. Yeah. And he says, "Man, I'm a purist fella. He's older than I am." And he says, "Listen, we're going to play the game the right way. This is how we're going to play it. If you don't want to play here, I'll make arrangements for you to ship out somewhere." And what does he wind up doing? He wins pennants for 3 years in a row. Dusty Baker's the real deal, and his kids understand that, and his kids know that they made a mistake, and they suffered for it too. And if I was an opposing team playing the Astros, and I had them at home, I'd be booing them for 3 hours straight. But that's people have forgot about that. Now they got one of the two best pitchers in baseball, and they got a good shot at the World Series again. So it's good to talk about all these things to keep them on an even keel, an even perspective. I want to see Judge deserve his fame, and I think he is. And he's a nice man. He's a very humble man. I mean, he's not a jerk like Bonds or anything like that. I mean, he's a good man. And I think that we're probably going to hear a lot more about him in the recent years. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see him leave New York. I think that would be a big mistake on the Yankees' part.
Yeah.
We've always talked about the cable contracts these teams have got in there for the major cities, and rest assured, New York cable contract with New York is huge, and they can afford anything they can put out there, and more than Steinbrenner could ever dream about putting out there. So I'd like to see Judge stay where he's at. On the other side of the coin, you got some other players on the other side of the country. Ohtani got a $30 million to play next year just for the Angels, and Phil Neville's going to come back and coach for 1 year. So we'll see where that goes. When you have this kind of money thrown around, $30 million just for 1 year of pitching and hitting, I mean, certainly he deserves it. And the Judge Ohtani thing is going to go back and forth, and until the pundits make their decision. I still like Ohtani as the overall leader. I love Aaron Judge, and I think he's an extraordinary player, and he deserves all the credit he gets to. It's going to be a very tough decision for these people to vote.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tough decision, and what shouldn't be a tough decision is Aaron Judge staying a Yankee. Now, I believe that he, at this point, can ask for the highest contract in baseball history, that I think that we could see him become the highest paid player. Now, Mike Trout has that with $426.5 million in a 12-year contract. His average salary...
When I hear these figures, it's crazy. I mean, certainly Aaron Judge is going to command in a multi-million dollars, and I don't think he's not a better player than Trout, but he's going to get his million too, and they can move Judge into the DH spot, but Trout plays center field. He plays it awful well too, and Judge, I like him in the outfield. So if they're going to pay him as a two-way player, not just as a hitter.
Yeah, I mean, we look at this right now. Mike Trout, his contract's up in 2030, 12-year contract, $426.5 million. His average salary is over $35 million a year. Some people wouldn't see $35 million in 5 lifetimes. Mookie Betts, $365 million. He's got $1 million for every day of the week or every day of the year. How about that? $365 million over 12 years goes to 2032. His average salary is over $30 million. Francisco Lindor of the Mets, $341 million is the third highest paid ever. 10-year contract up in 2031, making over $34 million a year. Fernando Tatis Jr. of the San Diego Padres, $340 million. Lindor getting $1 million more, but Tatis getting it over a 14-year period, so he makes $24 million a year up in 2034. Bryce Harper is number 5 with $330 million over 13 years with the Phillies. It's up in 2031. His average salary is over $25 million. And then we have Giancarlo Stanton of the Miami Marlins at $325 million over 13 years, $25 million a year. It's up in 2027. Corey Seager of the Texas Rangers, $325 million over 10 years, making $32.5 million a year, up in 2031. And Garrett Cole of the Yankees, how about this? Garrett Cole, $324 million. He's a Yankee, so him and Judge can talk. 9 years, 2028, it's up. He's making $36 million a year. Manny Machado of the Padres, $300 million over 10 years, $30 million a year, up in 2028. And so, a bunch of these, obviously these guys playing in baseball. Alex Rodriguez is still in here, still in the upper echelon, even though he's not playing anymore. $275 million over 10 years, which ended in 2017 with $27.5 million. Alex Rodriguez is on this list twice. He signed $252 million over 10 years with the Rangers, and he signed $275 million over 10 years with the Yankees. So he has 2 of these top ones here. But crazy to see this. I will say this, though. The average signing age of these massive contracts was between 26 and 27 years old, and Aaron Judge is a little bit older. However, I think he can argue, especially with all the injuries, unfortunately, that Mike Trout has had, that he deserves more money than Trout, and it's the Yankees. And if this was George Steinbrenner, he would have had this contract signed at the beginning of the season. He would have said, listen, here, I signed this check. I'm going to hand it to you. Think about it, put a number down. I've already signed it, hand it back to me, and we're good to go. And I honestly think that Aaron Judge can argue at this point, with 62 home runs in one season, being the new home run record hitter in a regular season for the American League, and being a Yankee, and being the face of the Yankees, and arguably the face of Major League Baseball. I think that it's okay for Aaron Judge to say, I want to be paid more than Mike Trout. And we'll see if he gets it, because he's a few years older than Mike. But like you said, you could shift him to DH in different pieces now. Do they sign him to a 10-year deal and let him play into his early 40s and give him the highest contract in baseball? If I was Aaron Judge, I most certainly would ask for it. And I would want to, if I don't get more than Trout, I'd want to at least get over $350 million, because it's the Yankees, it's Judge, and if they let him leave New York City will lose its freaking mind. I don't know what's worse, losing Aaron Judge or gas prices in New York City right now. I'm not sure.
Well, now, he's, in my opinion, he's not going to get more than Mike Trout. I mean, no one should get more than Mike Trout, because he's the best player in baseball. Has been for 9 years, maybe even 10 years. Mike Trout plays baseball the way Mickey Mantle used to play it, all out, all the time. He gets hurt. I mean, he got hurt this year. If he didn't get hurt this year, he'd probably be the MVP again. And he is the complete ball player. Aaron Judge, God bless him, I love the guy. I think he's a good baseball player. He plays a decent outfield, got a fair arm. He runs pretty good for a big guy, and he knocks the hell out of the ball. I don't think if you're New York's people right now, I don't think you give him a real long-term deal. He's 30 years old. Okay, Mike Trout is 30 years old. Now, if you give Aaron Judge 5 or 6 year deal at $40 million a year, that I would take that, and I think that he would take that too. Maybe he doesn't want to play that long. I don't know, but all you got to do is look at the way Trout plays and the way Aaron Judge plays, and you'll see the difference. I mean, it's not a big difference, certainly not. But Judge is a very good ball player, and he commands respect when he's on the field, period. Mm-hmm. And I think he'll demand respect off the field when it comes time to negotiation.
Yeah, and listen, if I'm in Aaron Judge's court, I'm saying, listen, I'll rise, and I'm gonna rise all the way up that past Mike Trout is what I want.
I like that.
How about that? Like that? Thank you. How about Shohei Ohtani? Talking about all rise, he goes from $3 million that he made in 2021, $3 million, and next season's going to make $30 million. So in 2 years' time, he multiplied his contract by 10, going from $3 million in 2021 to $30 million in 2023. They haven't signed him for a long-term deal, and the Angels obviously still haven't figured out what the heck they're going to do, because they got a lot of guys they're paying, but the team overall is not winning. He's an unrestricted free agent in 2024. But what are your thoughts on Shohei Ohtani, PJ, coming into the 2022 season, having made $3 million in 2021, and he's going to make $30 million next year for one season?
Yeah, he's worth it, man. I tell you, and I know the majority of the country didn't get to see this kid play because of the way the contract deals are for these baseball teams. Fortunately, with the MLB package that MT got to me, I didn't miss any of his games. I saw him and Mike Trout play a lot. I mean, dozens of games I watched them, because I could pull him in anytime, any place, anywhere, and I could do that. And watching this kid play, watching him play 2 or 3 times a night, a week, as opposed to once every 2 weeks, if the cable channels come in and pull in the Angels, he's a remarkable player. And what the fans don't really understand about the kid is he's another humble kid. He is. He's a very humble man. He's very young. I mean, he's 26, 27 years old. But he plays the game the way it should be played also. I mean, he could probably play the outfield, I know, but they'd rather DH him. He got up over 500 at-bats this year. He's so dominant on the mound that it's scary. The kid deserves all the accolades that he's getting now. And certainly, when it comes time for him to negotiate, it's going to be a real tough one too. Now, Ohtani is watching him play, especially him running the bases. He is so big and so tall. I didn't think he could run as fast as he does. I tell you, runs a ground ball to shortstop. Shortstop's got to pick it clean and get it over there quick because he's hauling ass down the line too. Same thing with Trout. Those guys still run good, run fast. Yeah. Aaron Judge is an extraordinary ball player, and I wish him luck. I hope he gets the money. I hope he stays in New York. But he's not a better ball player than Mike Trout. He's not a better ball player than Ohtani. Ohtani is going to probably commit to a bigger deal than Trout did, Anthony Rendon did, Machado, and all these guys lumped together. He's probably going to have a hell of a deal. Now, will it be with the Angels? Don't know. Next year, I get to watch him again. All 81 games, I get to watch him, and I get to watch Judge too. Hooray for me.
Yeah, and looking at Shohei Ohtani and where he is at this season as a pitcher, a record of 15-9, 2.33 ERA. And then when we go to his batting, and this, again, he is less than 1% of baseball. Shohei Ohtani this season, 90 runs, 160 hits, 34 home runs, 95 RBIs. Looking over his last season, he had 103 runs. He had 138 hits. So he's got more hits this year. Looking at everything he's done, it's insane. Over the last 2 seasons, Shohei Ohtani, a pitcher, had 80 home runs over the past 2 regular seasons. And RBI-wise, he's had 195 over the past 2 seasons. He is insane. He's an enigma. He's special. He's different. He's interesting. And I don't know if he's going to be an Angel forever. So we shall see what we shall see. But Aaron Judge needs to get paid. Shohei Ohtani needs to get paid. I know the Yankees would love to see them both, but they need to keep Aaron Judge at bay. And I can only imagine how many rolling around moments. George Steinbrenner right now, when they say, oh, they probably rolled over in the grave, George Steinbrenner has rolled and dug a tunnel, gone down a hill, and wherever he was buried is in some other country right now for how many times he's rolled over trying to get Aaron Judge to get paid. So at some point, the money needs to come in for Aaron Judge. We'll see if and when that happens from the Yankees, because if it doesn't, it could go down as, you remember when Babe Ruth was a Red Sox and became a Yankee? Well, this could be the opposite. This could be the time where the Yankees lost on someone incredible, because, believe it or not, the Yankees of today are a little bit cheaper than they used to be, which is really weird. With that being said, PJ, before we take a step aside for a fast break, your thoughts on the Jacksonville Jaguars at 2-2 this season. They lost by only a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, 29-21, to the only team in football that is still undefeated, believe it or not, the Philadelphia Eagles. Through 4 weeks of football, as we head into Week 5, only one of the 32 NFL franchises is undefeated. Everybody else has at least one loss. The Philadelphia Eagles, that means that they're in 3% of the NFL. They are the upper 3% as the only undefeated team. And credit the Jaguars, their defense, and everything that they did in the game defensively, and some of the positives offensively. That is, as many turnovers as they made, and as much as Trevor Lawrence somehow had his ball laced with some type of oil, was not able to hold on to that ball, multiple fumbles, yet the team only lost by 1 possession. What are your thoughts?
Well, it was a very disappointing game. I mean, when I first sat down and started watching the game, the interception, a touchdown, and then they scored in the next drive, it was 14-zip, and I'm saying, this maybe we're seeing something here. And then it all fell apart. I mean, you're the face of the franchise. You're the number 1 player. You're the best player, and you can't give up 5 turnovers. You can't fumble 4 times and throw an interception. You can't do it. The Jaguars are still very young and they're very fragile. And to to their guts, they came back and made it a ball game. But they weren't going to win the game as long as Trevor Lawrence was playing quarterback the way he was. So, I'm sure he's watching a lot of film, and perhaps maybe they're asking him to wear a glove to play. It would seem to me that if he can't grip the ball correctly, he's got huge hands. I mean, geez. If he, maybe he needs a glove. I don't know. Ben Roethlisberger threw with a glove for 20 years.
Yeah.
So if he can do it, Trevor Lawrence can do it too. A lot of things to talk about. They look good playing, but they didn't look good playing. If you can understand that. So it's our job as pundits to talk about it and try to analyze it and see if Lawrence can come up with something better for himself.
Yeah, and you know what? But I will say this, as much as this, it is a loss, 29-21 on the road. But the Jacksonville Jaguars committed 5 turnovers, all of them by Trevor Lawrence, 1 interception, and lost all 4 of the times that he fumbled the ball. The ball was lost. So think about that. Your quarterback fumbles 4 times, loses them all, and throws an interception. 5 turnovers on your quarterback, and you only lose by 1 possession. That shows the grit, the fight, and that this team never gave up. Shout out to my guy, Andre Sisco, who returned that interception for a touchdown. Huge, huge improvement from last year. This team with 5 turnovers would have lost 40-7, maybe 40-3. So to see it just says something to me. I've watched football long enough to say if you commit 5 turnovers and lose by 1 possession, that's a win somewhere that I can. Because the thing is, think about it this way: Philadelphia didn't beat you more than you beat yourself. You gave Philadelphia 5 extra possessions. Everything that happened in this game, when you look at those 5 possessions, that's on you. Those are controlling the controllables. You can control the controllables. You can't control Philadelphia. So when you go back and you look at this and say, hey, we can control whether or not we fumble. We can control if we throw a bad pass. So going back and looking at the film on this, Jacksonville losing by 1 possession, saying, hey, there are mistakes. They're the things that we did. We can stop doing these things. Then that to me is better than saying, hey, they just beat the crap out of us, which is what Jacksonville would have said about Philadelphia last year. So I can respect the fact that these are fixable problems, and Jacksonville needs to fix them this weekend against the Houston Texans. With that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. PJ and I will come back talking about college football and the NFL. We'll be taking a look back at our picks of college football week 5 and the NFL week 4. We'll be making picks for college football week 6 and NFL week 5. And we'll give you our overall records right after this fast break from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. You're watching and listening to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student-athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicoli's.com. That's myaviccollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9Campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9Campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life. Always happy to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, it is that time of the PJ Takeover where PJ and I are going to be discussing how our picks did over this past week. And you know that that was NFL Week 4 and college football Week 5. We're going to go to college football first inside of MaandPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', your list of topics for the day that you can see on the screen on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT. We talked about Major League Baseball, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and next up, college football. So taking a look at how we did in our picks. So we're going to bring those up on your screen right now. For those of you listening on mixlr.com, /WakeUpCallDT, and on the homepage of WakeUpCallDT.com. Of course, we'll be describing these to you, so it'll be like you're seeing them, even though you're not. So, college football Week 5 picks. PJ and I made our picks. Now, coming into this week, I had a fantastic week last week, thank goodness. So I'm only one game behind Papa Joe in our predictions. He's 14-6 this season with our college football picks. I am 13-7. So we take a look at how college football shook out this past week. PJ and I both took Kentucky over Ole Miss, and we got that one incorrect. So we got to put a little X on that one. The Lane Train, man. You know, I'm going to tell you right now, if the Lane Train knew that PJ had a cup given to him by me, he'd say, you can't drink out of that cup for a week, because we did not pick the Lane Train, who won the game 22-19 at home over Kentucky. 14th-ranked Ole Miss over 7th-ranked Kentucky. In the Wisconsin-Illinois game, PJ took Wisconsin because he doesn't want his bros and Mary to get upset. And I took Illinois because I don't have to see Miss Mary for a few days. So I was like, you know what? If I take Illinois, she won't know it. They won 34-10. Shout out to Tommy DeVito, former Syracuse quarterback, putting that work in. Then we both took Bam Alama in their game over Arkansas, winning 49-26. So we both got that victory correct. And then PJ took Oklahoma State. I was feeling good about Baylor. Oklahoma State got that dub, and Baylor gave me not a mucho on that one, so very upset about that. The Florida State game, Florida State here, Wake Forest, this was a good game, 22-23. Wake Forest, a 22nd ranked team in the country. Florida State right behind them. Florida State lost the game at home. Hard to figure these, Wake Forest is a better team, and they've continued to get better over the years, especially these last few seasons, last 3 seasons or so. And Dave Clawson's really made this program into something special. And I love the fact that I've covered him pretty much, I think, maybe all the way, or if pretty much almost all the way, that he's been the coach of the Demon Deacons. It's hard to pick against him, and I learned my lesson in this one. 31-21, Florida State loses. Clemson, we did choose the Clemson Tigers to win their game over NC State. NC State didn't look good in this one. NC State losing 30-20. Next up for them is going to be Syracuse on October 15th after Syracuse's bye week. The Orange won as well, so we get to check that baby off. And then the Florida Gators, PJ's team, the other orange and blue. Did the Florida Gators get their dub? Yes, they did. 52-17. The Florida Gators got their win here. And, outside of that, we did pick the UCF game, and we're hoping that Florida and UCF got to play their games. UCF did not. So that one we don't have to worry about here. We can kind of just cross that one off. So taking a look back at it here, PJ's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. PJ had a very good week. Looking at PJ's record of 6-2 in his college football week 5 picks, which I'm very happy for him as my other dad. And going up against him, I'm very pissed off that I had to write 6-2. But looking at this, just kidding. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for me. So I'm 5-3. So PJ stays a little bit ahead of me once again, as he is 6-2. I'm 5-3, which means that he has an overall record of 20-8 for college football, and my record is right behind his here. This is it is 20-8. So 20-8 he has, and then I got my 5, so I am 18-10 behind Papa Joe in the grand scheme of things here. So PJ, your thoughts on the fact that you kick butt once again in college football?
Oh, it's fun to watch. I did watch some really good games this week, and I was very impressed about Alabama going in hostile territory there. And, of course, Bryce Young getting hurt is really going to put a damper on the team. I'm not sure. I don't think he's going to be playing this week. If he does, it'd be a big mistake. He doesn't need to play until he's really healthy. The FSU game disappointed me, too. I thought that FSU would finally maybe be close to a better than 500 team this year. And Wake Forest just took it to them at Bill Campbell Stadium. So disappointed in that game, too. So there was some good games. Other than that, there wasn't any surprises, not too many surprises. I didn't think so. Clemson played really well. I look for NC State to bounce back this week against FSU anyway. Ohio State doesn't have a cupcake this week, so they gotta play well against Michigan State. I think Georgia looked like there was a little bit of chink in the armor when they had to go play Missouri. Yeah. Now, to Georgia's, to Stetson Bennett, they pulled it out, but they did not look dominant in doing it, and because of that mediocre effort, Alabama just passed them up on the poll. So Georgia needs to sharpen their claws again. And while Bama, all you got to do is keep doing what Bama does, but they may have to do it with another quarterback.
Yeah, definitely going to be a great week here. We're going to get into our picks in a second. PJ is 20-8 this season in his overall college football picks. I am 18-10, so both over 500, which is a beautiful thing here. And PJ will take a look now at week 6, and we have some games that people have asked us to go into here, but we're going to make our picks here. I'm going to start it off with TCU at Kansas. TCU, the 17th ranked team in the nation. Kansas, the 19th ranked team in the nation. You see Kansas, Kentucky, and Syracuse. You think it's a basketball poll, not a football one. So what are your thoughts on TCU and my guy Sonny Dykes, who did well for SMU, is now kicking A for TCU and his first season over there. TCU at Kansas, what do you got?
This is a pick 'em game to me. I sort of like Kansas at home, but I like the role that TCU's on. I think TCU's got a better offense, so I'm going to pick TCU.
All right, so PJ and I are going to both go TCU on this one. So we got TCU at Kansas, two top 25 ranked teams. PJ and I will both go with TCU in this matchup. The next one that we have coming up here, Papa Joe, Arkansas is now unranked, believe it or not. They lost to Alabama and somehow got punished for it. If they were in the Big Ten, they'd probably move up the poll for losing to another Big Ten team. So Arkansas has now been unranked, and they'll face off against number 23 ranked Mississippi State. Mississippi State's at home. What do you have for this?
I like Arkansas. They didn't look too bad against Alabama, and they can score some points. So I like Arkansas.
Yeah, I like Arkansas to get back into the top 25. They're going to have to give up one of the 47 spots that were given to the Big Ten, but somehow, some way, they're going to have to find a way to get them in there. You know, the top 25 always has enough space for the Big Ten. They need to make some space here for the conference that actually deserves it, which is the SEC. I'm going to pick Arkansas as well. Next one that we have up here on the docket, Auburn unranked at number 2, Georgia, who almost lost to Missouri. And in Georgia almost losing to Missouri and Alabama beating Arkansas convincingly, Alabama is now the number 1 ranked team in the nation. Georgia, despite being undefeated, dropped a spot for their not great play up against Missouri, winning the game on the road 26-22. What do you have for Auburn at Georgia?
Auburn looked pretty good last week, and Georgia did not look very good last week, but still, Georgia's the better team. I'm sure that they will bounce back this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Georgia in this one, too. I mean, listen, you can't afford to lose these games, and if Georgia had lost to Missouri, that could have been their college football playoff hopes right there. So we shall see. Number 11th ranked Utah at number 18th ranked UCLA. What is going on in college football that we have UCLA ranked, Kansas ranked, Kentucky ranked, Syracuse ranked? It feels like a different year. Number 11 Utah, number 18 UCLA. What do you got?
I'm on the Utah bandwagon still. After watching them play the first game against Florida, they're a formidable team this year still. I like them in this way.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Utah as well in this matchup. Listen, this is a team that typically plays spoiler to Oregon at the end of the season, so I'm going to go with Utah and take them for the win over UCLA. Next game we have up here, Virginia Tech, who hasn't had a great season in their first season under Brent Pry, and Pittsburgh, who's only played one ACC game this season, and that was at home. And they lost at home to a team that just fired their athletic director and head coach. Your thoughts on the fact that Pat Narduzzi and Pittsburgh, who have been a good team and were a top 25 ranked team, just lost to Georgia Tech with an interim head coach and a new AD and head coach coming down the pipe?
Tough game here, too. This is a tough game. I sort of like Pittsburgh, but I sort of like Vatek. I'm going to go with Vatek, I think, this time.
So PJ is going to take Virginia Tech to punch Pittsburgh in the gut while they're down. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I think they have to make a statement here. They got back-to-back games here at home. You need to win this one and get your fans back feeling good about this. The Georgia Tech loss was a very strange and unlikely loss in the Pat Narduzzi era. So we'll see if they can bounce back from that sooner rather than later. Ohio State, the number 3 ranked team in the nation for no reason, is playing at Michigan State, who's not ranked, but hold up because they probably will be at some point soon. If they lose to Ohio State by 20, they'll say it's a quality loss and put them in the top 25. What are your thoughts about Ohio State at Michigan? I don't say it unless it's true. And what do you think about Ohio State at Michigan State on ABC? A primetime midday game at 4 p.m. to see a team that's ranked for no reason up against a team that's not ranked.
I love your sarcasm. It's great. This is an OSU all the way. Michigan State is not the Michigan State that I remember. I like Michigan State when they play Michigan, but not now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just and yeah, Michigan State, Michigan, a good game too for the rivalry of it all. But Ohio State's done some good things in the past. Obviously, they recruit well and they got a lot of money to bring people in. But this being a midday game on ABC is disrespectful to everybody that has rabbit ear televisions that only get 3, 5, and 9 as their television stations. North Carolina at Miami. Miami has lost to Middle Tennessee, and my boy Scott Schaefer, what up? North Carolina doing their thing under Mac Brown, making things interesting, but didn't have a great game against Notre Dame. What are your thoughts about North Carolina at Miami?
Boy, Miami looks terrible. I thought that they would be one of the better teams in the nation this year. Because of that, I like North Carolina.
Yeah, I'm going with North Carolina. I'm going with the baby blue to get this done here, because if anybody's looking like a baby this season, ungrown here, it's Miami. I don't know what's going on with the Hurricanes, but it is not working out at this point. I'm going to go with North Carolina in this matchup. And the next game that we have coming up here, we got a bunch of games to look at. I want to make sure that we got to some of the games that we were asked to do here. So let me just double check on a few of these games that we were asked to put in. So let's see here. We have, okay, so I want to make sure we do these. So we have Florida State. We have Florida State's game. So, and I know you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I want to make sure we don't miss out on these games. And there's a couple of them that we have to go back to here. So let's get into it. Florida State is a team that was in the top 25, is not anymore after losing their game here recently. FSU is going to be playing up against NC State, which is good for Syracuse because Syracuse has to play Florida State still, NC State, Clemson, and Wake Forest. And they've all played each other in the weeks leading up to them having to play Syracuse. So the hope for Syracuse is that these teams have beat up on each other enough to help out the Orange, who I'm not saying need the help, but it doesn't hurt if these teams beat up on each other. So Florida State at number 14th ranked NC State. Your thoughts?
Well, I watched the Florida State game for a little while, not a long time, but I noticed that Jordan Travis was throwing the ball really well. And I thought maybe I'd come back to the game a few minutes later and that they would be scoring some points. He threw the ball all over the place but didn't score enough points. I don't think that they're as good as they think they are, or they're not as good as Papa J thinks they are either. But I like North Carolina State.
Yeah, I'm going with NC State in this one, getting a victory as they head into their matchup with Syracuse coming up here in the very not too distant future. That game will be on October 15th. We just found out the time for that game will be at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. A midday game. Some fans are pissed off about it. I think it's great. You're there from like 3:30 to 7. So good stuff there. NC State, mind you, is 0-1. They lost the only game that they've played in the ACC, which was to Clemson this past week. They are 4-1 overall. That one loss, like I said, coming in the ACC. By the way, of the 14 teams inside of the ACC, there's only 2 unbeaten teams out of 14 in the ACC, and their names, Clemson and Syracuse. So, just to let you know, 5-0 and 5-0. Orange is looking good on a couple of these teams in here. Next game we have up, Papa John, I'm going NC State as well. If I didn't make that clear, I think I did. But just to let you know again, the next game that we have up here is going to be Tennessee at LSU. Tennessee has been regarded in the last couple of years as a team on the rise, which I agree with. And with the coach that I was covering for a while when he was at UCF, Josh Heupel, they've done a good job. Now they're ranked 8th in the nation. LSU has snuck back into the top 25. What are your thoughts about Tennessee at LSU?
This is a trip-up game for Tennessee. You don't go into the original Death Valley at LSU and play well. This is LSU this week.
So PJ is going to take LSU in this matchup here, and I'm going to go with Tennessee. So we're going to see what happens here. If Tennessee can get it done, I do agree with you that this could be a trip-up game, but hoping for Tennessee in this matchup. to get the victory on the road, as LSU can be dangerous right now back in the top 25. I believe that's true. Next game that we have up here, final game that we have here, is a game that features a team that's not in the Big Ten yet. However, they get special treatment like the Big Ten does. That's BYU at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is on NBC and Peacock. And what does that mean for you? I don't know. It means Notre Dame makes a lot of money, and they get 100% of the profit. BYU, the number 16th ranked team in the country, they've stayed ranked throughout the season. They had an ugly loss recently here. They're at Notre Dame, who's only had ugly losses. So what are your thoughts about BYU at Notre Dame? Notre Dame beating North Carolina, but besides that, hasn't really had a lot going on. Started the season ranked in the preseason rankings at number 5 in the nation for no apparent reason. And now are not ranked in the top 25 for every apparent reason. What are your thoughts on BYU at Notre Dame?
I like that too. Boy, that poor guy that took over for Notre Dame is really getting slandered up there. Notre Dame has got to show up one time this year, and I think this is when they're going to show up. I think they're going to beat BYU.
PJ taking Notre Dame in this matchup against Brigham Young University, the House of the Mormon, and I am going with the House of the Mormon. I'm going with BYU. So I'm going to see what happens here. I think Notre Dame can get this one at home, but I am going to go with BYU in this matchup. And, the only thing that is more egregious and more crazy, I shouldn't say egregious, but I don't know if there's anything crazier than the Big Ten Notre Dame special treatment, but I will say that the Bobby Bonilla deal is a pretty crazy thing. And PJ and I would take the Bobby Bonilla deal. Every July 1st, getting paid $1 million for being alive is a beautiful thing. To take a look at the NFL, which is what we're going to do right after this fast break, PJ and I will tell you exactly where we stand in the world of the NFL, taking a look at NFL Week 4, and then heading into our Week 5 picks. Once again, coming out of this week, PJ is 20-8 overall in his college football picks. I am 18-10, 2 games behind him, and we'll take a look at the NFL right after this, inside the Cafe Kubal studios where sports meets that thing called life. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jim Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life. That's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also, I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios where sports meets that thing called life. Happy to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time and spending some extra time with you here this morning as PJ and I have our picks to get through here for the NFL in our final set. PJ comes into this week through 4 weeks of the NFL. PJ comes in with a record of 22, 25, and 1. And I come in with a 26, 21, and 1 record. So on the positive side of things, for me, above 500, PJ close to getting to 500 here. And we look at our NFL Week 4 predictions here as we go down the line and take a look at how the NFL firmed out here this past week through 4 weeks inside of it. So we'll take a look at PJ. I already know that he's got one over me that we had taking a look at this past week. So looking at week 4, this is what PJ and I had. So we'll do PJ's and ours down the line here. The Dolphins, obviously, were undefeated. They lost Tua and in a very strange situation. And God truly be with Tua and all of his loved ones, as it is way more important to be healthy than to play football. So the Dolphins lose their game. PJ and I got that one wrong. Next game up, the Vikings played over. The first game played in London Town, you bloke. They got that one 28 to 25, a victory there in a game where we saw a potential game-tying field goal hit one of the goalposts and the crossbar. So a crazy, and it didn't go in, which is nuts. The Cleveland Browns, we both chose them, and they were defeated by the Falcons by 3 points in that matchup. Cooper Rush has continued to be very, very good at quarterback for the Cowboys. The team is 3-1, and most of that is with Cooper Rush, so we both got that correct with picking the Cowboys in that matchup. And then taking a look at the Seahawks and the Lions. The Lions were in another shootout, started the season off losing 38-35 to the Eagles on the road, or pardon me, at home. And they lost this game at home 48-45, which is crazy here, as the Seattle Seahawks continue to impress me and do a heck of a lot better than I had anticipated to start off the season. The Colts got a victory, or pardon me, the Titans got a victory over the Colts here. We both got that one correct. And we also chose the Giants over the Bears. So we got that. PJ went with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I went with the Jaguars here. I got that one wrong. PJ got it right. Steelers-wise here, the Jets get a win on the road over the Steelers. And I told you Kenny Pickett was coming in this season. And now starting week 5, he is their quarterback going into Buffalo. Hell of a way to be a first-time starter to go into the Buffalo Bills town. However, the weather's a heck of a lot nicer than it could be at this time of year. So good stuff for that. Steelers losing their game, and PJ and I both had the Steelers in that one with the Jets, so we lost that. And then the Bills found a way to outlast the Ravens, and so we got that one wrong. The Chargers defeated the Texans, the Cardinals over the Panthers. So we got the Chargers right, the Panthers wrong in this. And then we both chose the Green Bay Packers over the Patriots. A lot of these games ending by a field goal. This one took overtime for Aaron Rodgers to beat the third-string quarterback of the Patriots. What is going on in Green Bay right now? But we got that one correct. The Broncos were unable to get it going against the Raiders. They've struggled offensively this year. So PJ picked the Raiders. I picked the Broncos, so I got that one incorrect. And then the Chiefs, we both had over the Bucks, and hopefully everything will be okay in the personal life of Tom Brady, which seems to be potentially maybe leaking out into what's going on now. I hope it's not. And the 49ers, PJ got this one right as the Rams continue to reel here. So looking through this, PJ got more right than I did. I know that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 right this week for Papa Joe with a 10-6 record. I know I don't have that many. 1, 2, 3, let's see here, 4, 5, 6. I think I had 7 right this week. So 7 this week, and that's not an enticing record for me by any stretch of the imagination. Got a bunch of these games wrong. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see here. 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I think it's only 7 for me. So 10-6 Papa Joe is after this week, and I fall to 7-9. So that means that PJ is going to get a little closer to my record here. His record is 32-31. So for the first time this season, PJ is above 500 in his picks for the NFL. Congratulations to that. 32-31-1. And my picks are a little bit uglier this week, and I am 33 overall. Let's see here. 33-30-1. So PJ is within one game of me right now. I'm within 2 games of him in the grand scheme of things. Papa Joe, what are your thoughts on that as you're above 500 in your picks now?
The parity in this league is hard to explain too sometimes. There were some really good games this weekend, and I watched the Green Bay game, and I noticed it. And I don't know if did you watch the Kansas City game? Did you see what Mahomes did when he threw a push shot for a touchdown? I've seen some remarkable plays in my life, but this kid swung to the right, looks like he's doing a run, stopped, pivoted around the guy, stopped before the line of scrimmage, and tossed it like a one-hand set shot to his running back for a touchdown.
Yeah.
The kid's remarkable on the field. I mean, he can improvise so well, and his skill set is amazing. That to me is a play that I will never forget.
Yeah, Pat Mahomes, I mean, we've seen him throw right-handed, left-handed, throw on the run. This guy is ambidextrous. He can throw off his feet, on his feet, fading back, moving forward, on the run, when he's stopped. It's Pat Mahomes. I mean, and next to Josh Allen, you're looking at the 2 best guys in the league right now. And, and Mahomes he's incredible. He's absolutely incredible. And that's, but one play that he's shown us in his very wonderful career that includes the fact that he's a Super Bowl champion and he's only been in the league for a few seasons. So a big shout out to the remarkable play of Patty Mahomes. PJ, it's time for us to get into our final set here, which is making our NFL picks for Week 5. So let's go down the line. Tonight we have the Colts and the Broncos. As I said, this schedule is giving no favors to Nate Hackett. Somehow the Broncos pulled off getting a bunch of primetime games. However, it screwed up the weeks for Nate Hackett, having to play in the first 5 weeks a Monday night game, a Sunday night game, and now a Thursday night game. What are your thoughts on Colts at Broncos?
I like Denver in this one.
Yeah, I think the Colts are really in a place right now where they are reeling. And Greg said it, Mahomes is a magician. You're absolutely right about that. I think the Colts are in a place that's a little bit worse than the Broncos. We can call this the Manning Bowl, as Peyton Manning played for both of these teams. I'm going to pick the Denver Broncos and hope they get on the right side of things as well. Giants at the Packers, PJ. Saquon Barkley, my good buddy DeAndre Smith. I said if anybody can bring the best out of Saquon, it's DeAndre. To take a non-household name and make it a household name, well, Saquon's already a household name, so look at what DeAndre could do with him. That's what I said going into the season, and going into this game, Saquon Barkley leads the entire nation in rushing yards with 463 through 4 games. What are your thoughts on Giants at Packers?
Well, he can run on the Packers too, but I think that Green Bay is up for a good game here, and Aaron Rodgers knows when he's reeling. He knows last week that he barely got a win. And he knows he's not playing well. He knows he's not throwing well. But he's going to win this game.
Well, I'm going with the Giants over the Packers because Green Bay had an ugly game this past week that they barely got out of against the Patriots. I have the Giants winning on the road and Saquon Barkley running all over this team. And yet another wide receiver having to step up since Aaron Rodgers says publicly when he doesn't like his receivers, so you got Romeo Doubs out there doing his thing, trying to make it happen. Steelers at the Bills, PJ. We see the first career start for Kenny Pickett going up against Josh Allen. Josh Allen just gutted it out against the Ravens, and the Steelers just lost at home to the Jets. What are your thoughts?
Well, we put Josh Allen in the same area as Patrick Mahomes are. They're extremely gifted athletes, and he runs a lot better than Patrick does. And let me tell you, when he turns up the field, he's a load. He's a big man, and he can run pretty good. So, this shouldn't be a problem for Buffalo. I think they win easily.
Yeah, I got Buffalo in this game as well to get the victory over the visiting Steelers. However, I am excited to see Kenny Pickett on the field. Chargers at the Browns, PJ. I think there's a lot of fantasy value in this game, but where do we go in reality for the Chargers at the Browns?
San Diego really needs to pick it up, and I like them in this game.
Yeah, to me, the Browns haven't been that bad this year. They're 2-2. The Chargers are also 2-2. I'm going to look at this one and lean a little bit more on the side of the Chargers, but I do think that this could be a game that ends like 33-30. Next game that we have up here, the Bears at the Vikings. The Bears haven't been able to do much of anything. Their leading receiver, as of last week, had 77 yards through a bunch of games. It's insane to look at just how poor this team has been playing. However, on the ground, Khalil Herbert, who is at Virginia, a team that I cover, in college, did pretty well, and it looks like he may be asked to lead the carries again with David Montgomery not 100%. Bears at the Vikings, what do you have?
Bears at the Vikings. This is a tough game. I like Minnesota because they're playing at home. That's about all. I don't like Chicago at all. Chicago has some real serious problems, especially a quarterback.
Yeah.
And if they don't fix them quickly, they're going to, some coaches are going to wind up losing their jobs. So maybe the young man from Chicago will learn how to play the game a little bit better. But Minnesota looks best here.
Changing coaches like underpants unless you live out in the woods. The Bears looking ugly right now, and the Vikings trying to get on the better side of things, and I'm hoping that they do. Fantasy-wise, I need you, Justin Jefferson. So show up, baby. Let's make it happen. This could be the turnaround for the Vikings, who are 3-1, but have been in somewhat ugly 3-1. The Lions at the Patriots. Both teams are 1-3. Do you believe it? The Lions are looking to win their first game on the road. They're 0-1. The Patriots are trying to win their first game at home. They're 0-1. Who wins this game?
Well, New England's got some hurt quarterbacks. Goff is playing really well for Detroit. I think he can score some points now. I think they do. I think they can hold off New England. I like Detroit in this game.
Yeah, if you look at the overall numbers for what they're doing, I think Jared Goff has 11 touchdowns to 3 interceptions right now. He's throwing over 60% and has over 1,100 yards. I think it's 1,126 through 4 games. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Detroit Lions in this one as well. I've gone against Detroit. I'm going to stop doing that, at least for this week. Seattle at the Saints. Seattle's 2-2. They've been able to score in droves. And for the first time ever, we saw a player carted off the field because he had to use the potty. that being DK Metcalf. So what are your thoughts on the fact that here we are with the Seattle Seahawks and Geno Smith going up against famous Jameis Winston?
Oh, geez. So I have to pick this game.
You do.
Because I don't know who's worse, Geno Smith or Jameis, my man. Jameis isn't playing. So Geno Smith, I can't believe he's actually playing quarterback still. He's actually playing at a very high level. I mean, give him credit for that. But I'm gonna stay with New Orleans on this, Daniel. I hit Seattle to begin with, but I'm gonna flip it over to New Orleans. Maybe Jameis can cheer on the sidelines or something.
So PJ picking New Orleans. I'm gonna pick Seattle because Seattle has been a thorn in my side this season. I'm gonna pick Seattle to get the win in this. Who would have thunk that these teams right now? I mean, we're really the Seahawks, not the Saints. They're 1-3. But the Seahawks, being where they are right now, they could push for a playoff game the way that the Rams are playing. The Dolphins at the Jets, we're going to see Teddy Bridgewater, who I said going into the season, God forbid you need him. It's one of the best backups you can have. They're playing at the Jets. The Jets are 2-2. The Dolphins are 3-1. Who gets out of this one?
I'm glad you said that about Teddy Bridgewater because he's a very deserving quarterback, and he's been underrated over the years. And every time he steps in, he wins. And he does so in this case. I like Miami.
Yeah, Miami to me is, with Teddy Bridgewater, I think Jalen Waddle is still viable. I think Mike Gesicki's still viable. I think Tyreek Hill is still viable. So with that being said, I'm sorry to my buddy Ross. Happy belated birthday to you, and I love you as a brother, but I got to go with the Dolphins. And it's hard. I got to go with the Dolphins in this one. I'm sorry. So Falcons at the Buccaneers. The Bucs look ugly. The Falcons have been ugly. And the Dirty Bird would have been fitting now because the Falcons they're really dirty. I mean, they just look ugly. They're just not. I mean, the fact that they're 2-2 is beyond me. But Tom Brady and the Bucs look darn right almost horrible at this point. So who do you have for this one in Tampa Bay?
Well, I think you're going to see Tom Brady playing a lot better. Plus, I think you'll see his wedding band to be on his finger. I think he wins this game.
Yeah, you got the Bucs in this one. I got to go Falcon. I got to go Falcons in this. I just don't feel good about what's happening in Tampa Bay right now. I'm going with ATL. Tennessee at Washington. The Jaguars played the Commanders in the first game of the season, almost took them down. Now the Titans will have their shot in the AFC South going up against the NFC East. Titans at Commanders. What do you got?
Titans roll on this one, Daniel.
All right, the Commanders, listen, they've done some good things, but it's a team that struggles to close games out at times. So I'm going to have to go with PJ and say that the Titans are going to get this one. Then here's the game that, God willing, I will be on site, on location, sitting my butt in the press box and having an opportunity to get back on the prowl talking with my Jaguars in their second home game of the season. Texans at the Jaguars. The Texans are 0-3-1. The Jaguars are 2-2 and 1-0 at home. What do you got?
Jags roll hard. Roll on, Jags.
Yeah. How about that? That's roll some Tide. That's roll some Duval. So I got the Jaguars in this one, and I'm very excited about that. 49ers at the Panthers. PJ took the Niners on Monday Night Football to win at home over the Rams, and they did. My Carolina Panthers head coach, Matt Rule, who I built a relationship over the years, is on the hot seat. I'm not happy about it. 49ers at Panthers. Baker Mayfield looking terrible at quarterback. A former Temple guy, my guy PJ Walker, might be taking over at quarterback for them. What do you got, PJ?
Well, he had to write off Jimmy G is dead a couple of months ago, but he sure is not dead now. He wins that game. He wins that game by himself the other night, and he's going to win this game too. Jimmy G is back. Boy, I tell you. San Francisco's probably looking at some really egg on their face after what they tried to do to this kid. And frankly, I hope he wins it out. He won't, but he's a good quarterback, a really good quarterback, one of the elite quarterbacks in this league. And for him to be pooped on the way it wasn't right. He needed to play. He still needs to play. and I wish him luck. I like Jimmy G.
Brings him to the Super Bowl, and they've punished him not once, but at least twice in the time that he's been a Niner. Every time they need him, he steps up like a true champion, like a true leader, doesn't take it personally, and goes out there and kicks some tail. Have you seen a person get disrespected this much and then go out there and win for their team the way he does? I don't know if you can find somebody to argue that better. Jimmy Garoppolo, the happy mistake of San Francisco, who continues to be a positive for the team. In San Fran...
Also,
yeah, go ahead.
You got to remember, he's an Italian kid, too. You got to remember that, too.
Yeah, he's an Italian kid with a nice olive complexion. The sun dances nicely on his face, and the Niners are dancing nicely because of Jimmy Garoppolo. So pay the man because you've been stupid enough to disrespect him, and he has continued to respect you. Jimmy Garoppolo, in that marriage, he's the better of the two, and he's definitely the better half of that. Cowboys at the Rams. Cooper Rush has the Cowboys at 3-1. Matt Stafford has the Rams at 2-2, and Matty Stafford's been throwing a lot of interceptions this year. What do you got?
I think Cooper Rush is a flash in the pan. I like the Rams.
The Rams are at home. This could turn out to be an ugly game, folks. You can call me crazy. You can call me whatever you want to call me. But Cooper Rush has been running this team up the line as the former Super Bowl champions, Matt Stafford, has been running them down the flagpole. I'm going with the Cowboys on the road. Eagles at the Cardinals, the battle for the nest. Do the Eagles stay unbeaten? Or do the Cardinals, who seem to make games interesting, Kyler Murray seems to run around a lot. However, they haven't been running it in for a win, but half the time. They're 2-2. The Eagles are 4-0. What do you got?
Well, Jalen Hurts, if he didn't wake up a lot of people in the National Football League last week, these people are blind. But this guy is playing quarterback at the highest level. He runs and passes. He runs and throws. He's just. I'm so happy to see that because I really liked him when he played ball for Alabama, and he's the same kind of quarterback. Except they said, oh, he can't play in the NFL because he doesn't throw. Well, he does throw, folks. He throws for a lot. He's going to throw for a lot here too, Philly.
I got Philadelphia in this one as well. Whatever the Cardinals can do right to score some points, I don't think they're going to stop Philadelphia because I don't think the Cardinals are better than the Jaguars right now. Bengals at the Ravens for Sunday Night Football. The Bengals are 2-2. The Ravens somehow are 2-2. So what will happen to the Ravens? Will they get this victory, or will the Cincinnati Bengals catch some fire on Sunday night?
Well, I like Joe Burrow a lot. You know, I really like him as a quarterback. He's young. He's impressionable. He's gonna take a bump in the road here, though. Lamar Jackson, as gifted as he is, he doesn't really think as well as he should sometimes. He just reacts, you know. But he's just such a gifted athlete that he can get away with this kind of stuff. I mean, he throws the ball pretty good and he runs really well. So, you know, it's hard to pick against the Ravens when he's playing at home. So I like the Ravens.
And believe it or not, folks, the Ravens have not won a game this season at home so far. They are 0-2. I believe this will be their first win at home and third win of the season. Ravens over the Bengals. And Monday Night Football, we have the Raiders going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, channeling the Boomer. The Las Vegas Raiders got their first win of the season over the Denver Broncos, and the Kansas City Chiefs are 3-1. Does Kansas City keep winning, or do the Raiders somehow raid Kansas City, Missouri?
The Raiders. Don't you wish that the Boomer was back on television for ESPN?
Yeah, I do. I did get to meet him.
I can't stand to listen to. Yeah. I mute everything that I see. I can't stand it. I'd rather read it on closed caption and to listen to these idiots. But anyway, the Raiders are going to come up a little short here. Kansas City can score. You know, they lose Tyreek Hill, and still they're not quite as dominant as they have been. But Mahomes is so good at finding receivers. And if the NFL doesn't start watching Travis Kelce, he's going to run away with the tight end catching record here. Because no matter where he is on the field, home seems to catch him. Whether it's 1st and 5 or 2nd and 30, he's going to find it. I like KC big time here.
I like Kansas City too. And how spoiled are you Chiefs fans having Tony Gonzalez, who played until he was about 72 years old in the NFL, and now you have Travis Kelce. I'm going Kansas City at home in this game. Papa Joe, we have run the gamut. We have done it, and I appreciate you as always. Hopefully, in just a few days, you and I will be in the same room once again for some Sunday sauce. I appreciate you. I thank you. And PJ, if I know anything, if Notre Dame and the Big Ten have teams that deserve to be in the top 5, then you and we deserve to be in the top 5 too.
Okay. See you later.
Take care, PJ. So Papa Joe coming off the broadcast here today after we do a PJ takeover for our Thursdays. With that being said, we're going to hop into our final step aside of the broadcast and get you ready for Wake Up Call on the road tomorrow. We'll talk about what that's going to look like and feel like as we get set to be on the road tomorrow in New York City. And that'll be coming up right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside the Cafe Kubal studios.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus, where you will find handcrafted all-natural soy wax candles over 60 cents to freshen up your home. We carry a wide range of locally made items, Salsa Q's, Syracuse Salt, and Chocolate Pizza Company, to name a few. Let our knowledgeable staff help choose unique gifts and keepsakes for any occasion. Gifts for family and friends, and maybe a little something for yourself. Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus.
This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York. Coming to you, fall 2022. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, where sports truly meets that thing called life, and always appreciate you being here every single Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Under promise, over deliver, right? Giving you 2 hours a day is what we're supposed to do, and typically giving you over 2 hours per broadcast. So happy to be here with you yesterday for 4 hours, and today for over 2 once again. Inside the Cafe Kubal studios, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, as well as, and those are all in Syracuse, as well as 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners, and that is in North Syracuse at their drive-through location. So make sure you head out to Cafe Kubal today. Want to thank Papa Joe for being a part of the PJ Takeover, my co-host on Thursdays. I love him very much, and he's one of the greatest people on this planet since the beginning of time, and I'll stick by that. So, love you, PJ. YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all / Wake Up Call DT. So you can find us there Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and on and on wakeupcalldt.com, as well as on Facebook.com / live now DT. Once the shows go live, you can check us out in the archives on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Podbean, Podvine, Player FM, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners and beyond, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Witty Wicks, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Canine Campground, Dog Boarding, Honda City of Liverpool, Pizza Man, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay, Mother's Cupboard, and Chick-fil-A Watertown. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It is fins up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We are the exclusive home of information for the Lemoyne College Dolphins, and you can check out the Dolphins with us every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time during Dolphin Time, every first and third Wednesday with AD and DT, every second and fourth Wednesday with the Dolphin Dive, diving into the stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, as well as future Dolphins and alumni. Get all of our content by going to the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com, including the exclusive series where we were the first from the beginning and all the way through to what we did yesterday to give you the information on Lemoyne looking at going Division I, reclassification and realignment conversations with Athletic Director Bob Beretta and President of Lemoyne, Dr. Linda Lemura, and plenty of months, pretty much almost half a year of us giving you coverage of this and being the first to it and the first updates all the way through, the exclusive first from the beginning. And you can check out that series as well as more on the Lemoyne tab of wakeupcalldt.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel on youtube.com / wakeupcalldt to get all of our content for Lemoyne there and so much more. For more information on Lemoyne, go to LemoyneDolphins.com. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are also the proud exclusive multimedia marketing partners of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. The Bobcat Buzz comes to you every single month featuring Bobcats, student athletes, coaches, and administration. We have had so many specials on site at Mother's Cupboard on 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York, as well as multiple Cafe Kubal locations downtown. And we have also had the Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats for the Bobcat Buzz on site for exclusives at PB&J's Lunchbox on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York, as well as on campus in their James Street campus, Bryan and Stratton College, right there on James Street in Syracuse, New York. For the Bobcat Buzz, so much coming up. You could check out all of our Bobcat specials by going to the BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com, and of course, subscribing to our youtube.com/wakeupcalldt channel. For more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And I want to thank once again Papa Joe for being a part of the show as we ran the gamut, speaking on Major League Baseball Wild Card, Major League Baseball Postseason in general, making our picks through the Wild Card, as well as Aaron Judge thoughts and thoughts on Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, and Sammy Sosa, Hank Aaron, and more. We talked about the Jacksonville Jaguars at 2-2. We went and looked back at our college football picks of Week 5, looked at our overall standings, and made picks for Week 6. And we did the same thing for the NFL, speaking on Week 4 and upcoming Week 5. So, with all that being said, Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. Find us there 24/7. And tomorrow morning, we're going to do things a little bit differently, as I will be on the road. Wake Up Call, we use 3 different hashtags. So write to us on our social media and use these hashtags. Hashtag Wake Up Call OTR, which stands for on the road. Wake Up Call on the road, where you can spell it out. Or Wake Up Call everywhere. So check out Wake Up Call on the road from New York City. Tomorrow, as I'm pulling double duty with Dan Tortora Broadcast Media's Wake Up Call being down in New York City and Superpowered Pop being down in New York City at New York Comic-Con, as we tackle one of the largest events in the world for entertainment, with illustrators, actors, actresses, writers. The people that we talk to and that we interview will all be on site and on hand there, and God willing, by the grace of God, and by hard work, dedication, determination, and faith over fear, I will have more awesome connections and networking to be made, and more stories to tell, and more people to come on the show and tell their stories for Superpowered Pop. Go to superpoweredpop.com and Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Superpowered Pop to follow us as we go through New York Comic-Con, which I'm very excited and very much looking forward to do. So, with all that being said, tomorrow morning I will be going live. I'll probably be going live on Facebook and doing some cool things there with the Annoying Moment of the Week lead, as well as the Top Dog of the Week. I'll be re-airing my Major League Baseball special called Talk Around the Diamond with the fantastic guests in Frank DiPino and Mark Lukashevitz, both in our community and both former Major League pitchers. And I will be airing for the first time ever the story of Chick-fil-A Watertown owner and operator Merritt Brady, which is very heartfelt, and you won't want to miss that. We did that in a very wonderful, relaxed atmosphere, speaking with him and getting to know who he is as a person, as the man behind the music, so to speak. So a lot of great stuff coming up tomorrow with Merritt Brady's special, with the re-airing of our Major League Baseball Talk Around the Diamond special, and from spending a little bit of live time with me as I'm on site on location in New York City, pulling double duty for Wake Up Call and Superpowered Pop from down there in the great New York City area, and having some fun at New York Comic-Con. So, with that being said, God bless, no stress, do your best. Can't wait to be out there. And thanks, Greg. I hope you have a great weekend. As always, stay blessed. My best to you and your family and your friends, coworkers and colleagues, neighbors. Greg, I can't thank you enough for all your positivity and all your love. And you know what, Greg? I got to do something here before I round out the show. I got to show everybody what you got for me. So Greg did a really nice thing, and, it's something that I definitely didn't expect. I never expect stuff like this. And, he did it out of the goodness of his heart. It had nothing to do with my birthday or anything, because my birthday's in October. So, very, very nice stuff that Greg did here. And we had a fantasy football draft, and in this fantasy football draft, he brought something over to me, and when we took a break midway through the draft, he said, hey, open this up. And I was like, what is it? He's like, I'll just open it. And, just literally out of the goodness of his heart, and you got to shout out people that do things like this because, you just do. And when people are just out of the goodness of their heart, just do something nice for another human being. Well, he knows that Topanga was my first crush. Pretty much here, and Boy Meets World. I didn't even know of these. I've never had any of these or anything like that. So I have a bunch of pop figures, but I never got anything for Boy Meets World. This is my Topanga pop figure that Greg gave to me here that I keep in the super powered pop portion of our studio and office. And then he got me these two glasses, and as I rotate them, you can see that they have Robin Williams in a bunch of his very, very notable movies here and TV shows. So, and they're different. The glasses are different. So, Mork and Mindy, the first ever live action show that my parents let me watch. We have The Birdcage, another great movie. We have Hook, where he played Peter Pan. Good Morning Vietnam, which means something to me as a broadcaster. Toodaloo! Mrs. Doubtfire, one of my favorite movies. And, Good Will Hunting, as you can see that here as well. So a lot of great stuff on these glasses. And I just want to shout out Greg because he's an everyday viewer and listener of Wake Up Call. He has supported me. He was a total stranger over a couple of years ago. And now he's become a listener every day. I consider him somebody that I would call a friend because he has a good heart and he's been really good to me and my family and very supportive and always there to give a positive word and to lift you up and to do something like this and do something out of the goodness of his heart. Not only out of the goodness of his heart, but rare. I mean, I've never seen any of these glasses with Robin Williams, and to me that's just like crazy. I would never even thought of that. And then Topanga, I got pop figures, but I never even knew that this one existed. So, to the Gregs of the world, I want to say thank you because the world's a better place with you all in it. And I can't thank you enough for doing something like this. It's so nice for me, and it's exactly what I would buy at New York Comic Con. So it's funny how Wake Up Call and Super Powered Pop always seem to cross paths with each other, and I consider those God incidences. So, Greg, thank you from the bottom of my heart that you are such a wonderful person and a kind-hearted person, and, I send you and your family love. So we appreciate it, and I know Papa Joe sends his love too, and Mary T and Joey and all that. So have a great day. Be safe, everybody. And God bless you as always. God bless. No stress. Do your best. The next time you and I talk, it'll be from New York City.